On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, our eyes go to Okotoks for chats with a Dogs coach and a young athlete hoping to make an impression at a national tournament there. Welcome to episode 41 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. One of our favorite things to do is chat with veteran baseball players and coaches about their travels in the sport. One of the fascinating characters you'll find around Seaman Stadium in Okotoks is Joe Sergent. The lefty was a 21st round selection of the Florida Marlins back in 1999 and found himself all over North America during the next decade. That included a 3-year stint with the Calgary Vipers, pitching in 44 games between 2008 and 2010. He later made the city home and over the last 3 years has been part of the Okotoks Dogs and the Dogs Academy staff. Our own Ian Wilson wrote a great story on Sergent, which you can find on albertadugoutstories.com. Here now is their conversation.
You were drafted by the Marlins. You're an American-born guy. Tell me about how you came to baseball and started out playing in the first place.
I just loved the game. Right when we got it, you could always have. There's pictures of me at 1 and 2 years old with the ball in my hand, and it was great. Growing up in San Francisco, I would go to Candlestick Park. Me and my buddies would skip school, and at 16 years old, I had my license, and we'd each have $6 on us, and it is $5.50 to get into the bleacher seats in Candlestick Park. And that was in Bonds in his heyday. And we'd go to the left field bleachers, and we'd get there early for batting practice and just watch 20, 30, 40 games a year. Mm-hmm. Watching him play and watching guys and just being able to be around baseball my whole life. It makes you love the game so much.
You get drafted by the Marlins. You get as high as Double-A. I've been told that you had some battles. I think it was with Brad Penny on it for rotation spots at one point of your career. Right? Just tell me about being in that organization and what transpired when you were with the Marlins.
Oh man, it was wild. It was fun because I had 1 year our starting staff. We had Brad Penny and Josh Beckett and Dontrell Willis and AJ Burnett, and Jason Grilli was on a rehab assignment there, and Nate Robertson ended up having a little bit with the Tigers, and then there's me, and you're in the mix with these guys, and you don't really think much of it, and then after you get out of that and you see them win the World Series and I go to another organization and they see where I came from, and I never really noticed how special that group was and how much we pushed each other and how good I became as a pitcher just being around those guys. It was amazing. You didn't think about it at the time, but once you got out of it and you were in another organization, you're doing well, and you finally notice, like, wow, I actually am a good pitcher.
Yeah. So that was a real confidence booster. Just like, I guess, at what point did you realize that you were a good pitcher?
Professionally, I thought I became really good. I remember my first outing. I go into the Lowell. We're playing the Red Sox, and I'd just been signed. They had me just throw a bullpen that day because the Marlins mandated that you throw 2 bullpens before you can go. So I threw my second bullpen that day, and then they're like, all right, tomorrow you'll be live. And okay, so I'm just sitting down the bullpen late in the game. And it's 5-4 us, first and third, 1 out. I can remember this. And our closer goes into the game, and he's warming up, and I'm just kind of hanging out and down in the bullpen. And then all of a sudden I see some guy just sprint out of the bullpen, and they say, Joe, you gotta get hot. And I was like, what? Yeah, I go, he's out there. Like, no, you gotta get hot right now. It's like, just probably throw 6-7 pitches. And sure enough, they'd forgotten the guy on the lineup card. So, and I come, my first out in my professional career, and I'm in place and playing the Red Sox, and I remember I got to count the 3-1. I was so nervous, and the guy hits an absolute line drive on the 3-1 pitch to the second baseman. Guy catches it, lines, and goes, tags the guy out at first, and we got the save. I got the save first outing. I thought I was the top of the world. And then the next outing I went out, and the first 2 guys I faced hit home runs off me. And I thought I was like, man, I really got to learn how to pitch a little bit. And I remember throwing a changeup to the next guy, and he swung wildly and missed. And I was like, now I belong. I belong. This is where I belong.
Yeah.
So, and sure enough, I ended up throwing 19 innings in that short season. I gave up one more run the entire time. So, and kind of rest is history after that,
What precipitated your exit from the Marlins? Was it injury that caught up with you, or what happened there?
Everyone says it has a story and stuff like that, but you know what? There are just guys better than me. That's what it came down to. I was good, but when you're in an organization with Penny and Willis and Cy Young winners and Miguel Cabrera was there and Adrian Gonzalez was there, just talent on end. Guys got to go, and I just wasn't as good. I wasn't as good as them, and and I'm okay with it. I became a successful pitcher and a coach, and at the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough.
After that, you stuck with it. You were playing indie ball, and you ended up playing for Calgary Vipers. Is that what ultimately kind of brought you to Alberta to stay?
Yeah, it was a funny conversation. Like I was in Fargo, and after that 7th season, I was like, I'm done. I kind of just 11 years. I played 8 years, and I was like, what? I'm happy. And then I remember Evan Grissel called me, and because we were teammates in the Marlins, and he was in Calgary. And he calls me up, and he's like, hey, you coming back this year? I'm like, what? And it ended up being he dialed the wrong number. I dialed Adam Shorsher's number, who is the former coach in Mad Hat. He played with us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this isn't Adam. And he goes, this is Joe. He goes, oh, hey. He's like, you want to come play for Calgary? I was like, yeah, I do actually. And they just moved to the Golden League. So growing up on the West Coast, my mom had never seen me play professionally.
Yeah.
I was like, I've always wanted to end my career on the West Coast. And so I signed the next day, and that was that.
And you were there for a few years. It wasn't just a short stint with the Vipers. What was the? I heard there's all kinds of stories from the Viper days, but what kind of impression did that team and that experience leave on you?
Oh man, that was the greatest. that team was, that 09 team was probably the most fun I've ever had in professional baseball.
Was that the championship year? Yeah.
That was the championship year. We had a bunch of guys, a bunch of returners from that 08 team that got walked. We were walked off in the 08 championship series. We took a 1-run lead in the bottom of the ninth, and Orange County came back and beat us. That was Gary Carter's team.
Yeah.
And it stung so bad for us. We battled all year, got back, got a chance to win the championship, lost. So we brought everybody back, and we're like, we're gonna do one more run at this. And just the group of guys we had older guys kind of at the end of their career, mixing with a couple young guys, that we just wanted to win. We wanted one more championship, and that's all we wanted. We wanted nothing else. We didn't care about stats. We didn't care about anything. We wanted to win at the end of the day. We just wanted a dogpile one time, and sure enough, we got it. So.
And then I think your last professional pitching was with Yuma, if I'm not mistaken. Was that the Canseco series when he was in town?
Yeah. Me, Brent Cooper. Actually, it was Brian Rios, that former player. He coached up here, and he actually coached Mike Soroka. And me and Rios were coaching, and together with PBF. And Rios goes, hey, he's like, John Azinga and Jeff Freeborn are going to play for the Yuma team. They need players. They're like, do you want to come out of retirement and play one weekend? I was like, I don't know. And they're like, Canseco's on the team. I was like, you can't pass this up. It's Jose Canseco. So me, Rios, Jeff Freeborn, and then Brent Cooper, we all joined the team for just a weekend, and we played Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
And I was impressed of how big he was. How he was a massive person. Hands, I've never seen a pair of hands on a human being like him. And hit homers and stuff like that. And it was funny because, he was at the end of his career. He didn't, it is what it is with him. And I just remember him coming out of the game. We get down to the game, and we'd won that night somehow. And we all showered. And I remember he was like, all right, where's the place to go? And we said, Moose's. And he's like, Moose's. And I remember he put up on a blazer, no undershirt, a blazer, like a sport coat blazer. And he had jeans, sport coat blazer, and he goes, all right, I'm ready to go. And we're like, really? And he goes, yep, I'm ready to go. And we went out that night, and you know, it was a great time.
Who needs a shirt if you're Jose Canseco, right?
I know, right? You know, you hit close to 500 home runs in the show. You ain't got to tell me anything, you know.
So after that, tell me how you ended up with the Dogs organization. What was the process there, and how did you end up here?
You know, I was in Calgary coaching and stuff like that, and you know, I was coaching at Absolute Baseball Academy forever, and you know, great organization, loved being there. You know, they wanted to go a different direction, and you know, and Okotoks is here, and Okotoks came calling for me, and after that, and just it's been a match made in heaven ever since. So.
How many years now with the Dogs?
This is my third year. You know, and I love every second of it. You know, just, you know, and I'm a teacher now, and you know, kind of this place kind of showed me like who I can become as a person and stuff like that, and kind of changed my views of going from player to kind of adult coach and stuff like that now. So,
how many of the stories like the ones that you've shared with us here do you share with the players, or do they ask you about those playing days?
Every once in a while they do. I kind of stay off of, you know. I try to stay away from my playing days anymore. I'm kind of old washed up, and if they ask, I tell them, but I try to keep it more for them now, you know. My days are over. I think one of my favorite things I've ever read was a story from Aubrey Huff he wrote, and about an athlete dies twice. You die as a player, and you die as a human. And you know, when I stopped playing and stuff like that, you die as a player. Mm-hmm. And now it's their time, and so I try to make it as much as about them as possible. You know, try to keep myself. I don't need any limelight. I've had my time's already passed. You know, I'm a washed up player now. But these guys are, you know, now I get to live the dream.
Last question. Not entirely accurate. You do still pitch a bit in FMBA and the senior men's circuit. Tell me about that experience and why that's important to you to get out there. And from what I've heard from Brent Cooper and Jordy Alexander and other guys in the local baseball scene, you can still throw it pretty good and still strike out a few batters here and there.
Yeah, you know, I guess, you know, that part of me never dies. You know, you want the competitiveness in you, and I always wanted to say, you know, I have a daughter come in, and I want my kids one day to see me as like, oh, Dad actually played one day. So if I could hang on to a little bit of arm that I have left, and FMBA, the men's league there is just, it's a really fun time. I mean, a lot of guys, you know, they talk about beer league, and you know, it's just one of those things, but it's a fun time. You see a lot of ex guys, you see a lot of ex players, you see a lot of ex coaches still playing in that league, and you know, it is what it is, and it's a fun league. I really enjoy coming there and throwing to the guys and trying to relive my youth and stuff like that.
Good stuff. That's it for me, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
A few weeks ago, we chatted with Baseball Canada women's national team rising star Madison Willen about her multi-sport aspirations, and she alluded to a trip she was taking to Florida. She was talking about the Major League Baseball Girls Breakthrough Series. As it turned out, she was one of 4 Canadians and one of 2 Albertans to be heading south of the border. The other was 16-year-old Ellie Jespersen. Widely regarded as a rising star on the baseball Alberta scene, she is the reigning 15U Girls Player of the Year in the province and won the 13U award back in 2015. Jespersen also comes from a long line of family members who have succeeded in the sport and will have the chance to play with 2 of her sisters, Carrie and Robin, at the upcoming Baseball Canada Women's National Championship. Now that's being held in Okotoks July 4th through 7th, and I caught up with Jespersen earlier this week. Ellie, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's talk about, first off, your recent trip to Florida. How did that all go? How did it feel to be a part of this massive contingent and also to have a teammate in Madison Willen along for the ride as well?
Oh, it was a really cool experience, and I was really happy that Madison got to come with me because we were 2 of 4 Canadians to go, so it's always nice knowing someone. We met a lot of new people, and it was really cool experience to be able to meet the top 65 female baseball players from the U.S. and Canada.
What all did you go through? You play a lot of games. Did you get a lot of tutorials? Walk us through your typical day down there.
Well, the first 2 days we did more like practicing, and we split into groups and had hitting station, infielders group, and then an outfielders group. And after we were done our practicing, we had like meetings, and we got spoken to by different girls who played at the national level, and like they talked about how they got there, and so that was cool to see what they had to do in order to get to the national level.
What did you take away from that experience? What did you learn, not only as a baseball player, but also maybe even as a person?
Well, I learned that in order to get to that level, you really need to work hard and always have the positive attitude, especially in baseball, because, well, baseball is a game of failure, because you can't worry about if you made an error or struck out or threw a bad pitch. You always need to keep the level-headed mindset, and you also can't get too high. Like if you make a good play or get a big hit, you always need to be focused on the next pitch or the next play.
What did it mean to you to get that invite to go down to this session?
It was really incredible that I got to go, and I was really happy to be able to play with all the different girls and promote women's baseball.
Now you're obviously back home, and you're getting ready as well to play for the provincial team in Okotoks in just under a week now. Talk about that experience and being able to represent your own province now.
Yeah, I'm getting really excited. It's coming up right after this weekend. This is the first time I'll be able to play with both my sisters, so that's also really exciting. And I'm really happy I get to play on that provincial team. I wouldn't have gotten here without a lot of help from coaches and people who've inspired me to stay in the pursuit of baseball.
Speaking of those people who have inspired you, I'm curious, let's go back to the very beginning. And what got you into baseball in the first place, and especially, and even just your family? I mean, you guys have a pretty big name in baseball circles.
Well, I started baseball because my sister Carrie did. And the reason she started was because of Chris James. He works for Baseball Alberta, Women's Baseball Alberta, and he always coached us when we were young and told us to try out for the provincial team, and he really helped us get into that stuff. And so that he was one of the major influences on me.
Who inspires you?
One of the biggest people who inspired me when I was young is Nicole Luchansky, because she was on the national team and she played second base, and that's the position I play. So I always wanted to be like her and play on the national team just like she did.
From a life perspective, who do you give credit to for getting you as far as you've already gotten in your young career?
Well, my parents have really helped me, helping me what teams to try out for, who to play for, and also my coaches. I have really good coaches here in Parkland County, and there's just so many who've helped me get to where I am.
When you look ahead, what's your goal? What would you love to do in this sport?
My goal from the very beginning has been to play on Team Canada. So I've been doing everything I can to try to get there.
What do you think you got to do to get to that point?
Well, I'm playing in the Nationals coming up in a week here. And a lot of it depends on how well you play in the tournament, because that's what they're looking at. It's like the main tryout. So I really got to have a good tournament there.
What does it mean to you when you get words of encouragement and people saying such high-regarded things about you and your level of play? I know in talking to a couple of people around the women's game here, they keep saying you got to be looking out for this kid because she's going to go places. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's encouraging, and it adds a lot of excitement for me to try to do better and get to where I want to be.
For those who might be listening who have a young girl, or maybe there is a young girl listening to you right now, what words of advice would you have for them to stick through and continue to play baseball as long as they can?
Oh, yeah, I would just tell them, keep playing. Women's baseball is growing, and it's always good to see young women baseball players keep going in baseball and get to high levels.
Absolutely. Ellie, well, you're getting there yourself. Congratulations on all that you've accomplished so far, and all the best as you represent our province at Nationals in Okotoks.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you're interested in heading to the Nationals, single day and tournament passes are available. All you got to do is contact the Dogs. Big thanks again to Joe and Ellie for joining us on the podcast this week. And as always, thanks to you for downloading and listening. If you haven't already, leave us a rating and a review, as those actions will help us spread the word about the podcast. Until next time, thanks again for all your support, no matter the platform, of Alberta Dugout Stories.